Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my mind, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. I'm going higher. 50 years we're blessed with much fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up.
Higher, going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves for people together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, 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 folks. And welcome, welcome, welcome. It's really a plum-pleasing pleasure once again to be here with you as we continue to provide serious thought provokers to help you take your brain from fixed deposit to that of current account so that you can benefit and, of course, everyone around you can benefit too. You know, the way life has been structured these days, we really need to become each other's keeper once again in order to reach and even maintain a better standard and quality of life. Goodly folks, as soon as you come into the room today, remember, share, comment, like, love, and just interact as you usually do. Great to be with you once more. You know, every day above ground, we say, is a good day. You know, the weather might be lousy, but it's still a great day. Our angel number 244 symbolizes the alignment of our thoughts, emotions, and of course actions with our soul mission, leading us towards a prosperous and fulfilling life. The number 244 also represents strength, courage, and determination. It is a message of power. By creating a solid and secure foundation based on our traditional values, we can make a solid plan with the help of the powerful number and spirit guides to find a higher light through a clear lens. Folks, our topic today: a liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory. You see, folks, that truism, it really encapsulates a profound truth about the nature of dishonesty. Lies are fragile constructs, often riddled with inconsistencies and contradictions. That is why most liars have little to no memory. Their success relies on the hope that others either forget the details or they fail to notice the discrepancies. Conversely, a person with a sharp memory acts as a mirror to the truth, effortlessly exposing these flaws. This sharing here today, folks, I want to invite you to explore with me why lies and memory seem to be at odds, so that we can delve into the psychology of lying and, of course, highlights the implications of memory in both personal and societal contexts. Lying is inherently a risky endeavor because it requires the liar to maintain a consistent and believable story or narrative. Very, very interesting indeed. You see, unlike the truth, which exists independently of human fabrications, lies are creations that must be actively remembered and reinforced. For every fabricated detail, there is a potential for contradiction. A person with a strong memory can recall the particulars of previous conversations, events, or claims, making it easier to spot these inconsistencies. For example, in a social context, folks, a liar might embellish a story to appear more impressive. However, when a listener with a good memory recalls the original version of a story, any deviation becomes glaringly apparent. This dynamic illustrates how memory serves as a natural antidote to deception. You see, I know this woman who has absolutely no reason to lie whatsoever. Yet, for all, she lies. She will tell countless people of when she used to be the vice president of a certain illustrious financial institution in the United States, when in truth and in fact, that particular thing that she is bringing onto herself is actually Googleable. And there will be no truth to be arrived at when it comes to her claim. What she was indeed was an employee within the department of the office of the vice president of that institution. Because she does not know of the workings of the internet, she continues up to this day with that Anansi story. Unfortunately, several people of like persuasion believe her just because of who she fakingly presents herself to be. As I said earlier, she has absolutely no reason to lie, but just has to, because she's a prolific liar. You see, from a psychological perspective, lying is a cognitively demanding activity. Research in cognitive psychology has shown that lying activates multiple brain regions, including those involved in working memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. The liar must not only fabricate the lie, but he must also monitor the listener's reactions, suppress the truth, and anticipate potential follow-up questions. Each new layer of the lie compounds this mental strain, increasing the likelihood of a slip-up. You see, a good memory exacerbates this pressure. When someone remembers details with precision, the liar faces an additional burden, maintaining consistency with past fabrications. Now, even small discrepancies can unravel an elaborate lie, as the person with a good memory can point out contradictions that the liar might have forgotten. So many people around us with good memory have been able to pick at and through the lies, for instance, of the old nastiness. Yet for all, he continues to perpetuate them. And so many lazy people of extremely inferior minds proceed to accept what he says as gospel. That only tells you about the state of their minds, let alone their awareness levels and learning. Could you imagine a deceitful nastiness as that element projecting all his nastiness on decent people? And we have people we went to school with who were brought up properly, who believe that old nastiness and what he ascribes to decent people. Folks, if that is not retardation, I don't know what is. You see, in interpersonal relationships, lying can be particularly destructive. Trust, the cornerstone of any meaningful connection, is easily eroded by dishonesty. A partner, a friend, a family member with a good memory is less likely to overlook inconsistencies, making it harder for lies to go unnoticed. For instance, a spouse who remembers past conversations in detail might question discrepancies in their partner's account of events, leading to conflict or even the exposure of deeper betrayals. Moreover, when lies are exposed in such settings, the damage extends beyond the immediate deception. You see, the liar is often perceived as unreliable, and the relationship suffers lasting harm. In this sense, a person with a good memory not only detects lies, but also holds the liar accountable for their actions, reinforcing the importance of honesty. In professional and legal settings, the stakes of lying are even higher. Many professions, folks, such as journalism, law, and academia, rely on precision and accuracy. A colleague or investigator with a good memory can easily spot discrepancies in statements, records, or reports, potentially exposing fraud or misconduct. You see, legal proceedings provide a striking example of the interplay between lies and memory. Witnesses, for instance, are often cross-examined to test the consistency of their accounts. A skilled lawyer with a good memory can dismantle a false testimony by highlighting contradictions between a witness's current statements and prior dispositions. In such cases, memory becomes a powerful tool for upholding justice. Look at the state of several of our so-called journalists right here, so and now in Grenada, pandering to the old nastiness and helping him project his lies, project his inherent dishonesty and corruption on members of the new administration ad nauseum. Even as these lies are seen through by most Grenadians, these so-called journalists proceed unabated. And that accounts for the total disregard, disdain, and disrespect in which they are held by the general public in the main. You see, on a broader scale, collective memory plays a crucial role in holding individuals and institutions accountable. Historical records media archives, and digital databases serve as repositories of societal memory, ensuring that lies and deceit do not go unchallenged. For instance, political leaders who make contradictory statements can be fact-checked by responsible journalists, and of course these days by upstanding citizens who are prepared to not let these things go unchecked. Look at how Tropical Trump is scrutinized by the public through recordings and transcripts authored and produced by he himself, which always contradict he himself. In this way, memory safeguards the integrity of public discourse. Isn't it amazing that notwithstanding how many times you can find that old nastiness in a blatant lie, the green juice that his followers seem to have drunk have them so bazodi that they're telling you, you lie instead. However, the digital age has also introduced complexities. While technology enhances our ability to preserve and retrieve information, it also provides tools for manipulating or fabricating evidence. Hello? Folks, I would see things these days on the internet, and I would just lightly digest, lightly take in. If I can check it properly, I will. And if I can't, I expunge it from my brain. Because with AI, artificial intelligence, and the opportunities, dishonest nastinesses of our society, the tendency to be dishonest in everything they do, to project themselves onto you. Folks, me, it's difficult for you to get me to believe anything about anybody these days. I make my own mind up. You see, deep fakes, for example, blur the lines between truth and falsehood, complicating the relationship between lies and memory. Lazy people with weak brains always gravitate towards things which on the surface hold their attention and are always gobbled up, hook, line, and sinker by their inferior minds. Here is where the critical thinking and collective memory become even more necessary for us to develop, so that cons cannot easily absorb and devour too many of us with their lies. You see, at its core, the clash between lying and memory highlights deeper ethical questions about honesty, accountability, and even trust. Lies, no matter how small, erode the fabric of human connection. They create a world in which reality becomes malleable or compliant, and trust becomes a scarce commodity. Memory, on the other hand, anchors us to the truth. It allows us to recognize patterns, learn from past experiences, and hold ourselves and others accountable. You see, every time the old nastiness, for instance, talks and finds it necessary to advise that what he is saying is a fact and that he knows what he's talking about, we see why, according to Nolly and Brathwaite, every time Tropical Trump speaks, he's beating himself with a melee-like persona that keeps reminding us of what we no longer want for our Prime Minister and our country. Unquote. You see, those with good memories serve as guardians of truth, often unintentionally. By recalling events accurately, they challenge liars to either confront their dishonesty or risk exposure. While this role can create tensions, it also fosters a culture of accountability, folks. In this sense, memory is not just a personal attribute, but a social good, reinforcing the value of honesty in all aspects of life. Folks, there are two things that we must try to see if we can embody within us: a good memory or a tendency to powerful recall. You see, I do not commit a lot of things to memory. I file them, but I'll tell you something. My power of recall is ignited as soon as the occasion arises for me to dig deep. You see, the adage, a liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory, underscores the profound tension between dishonesty and truth. When people easily believe lies, it tells you about them. It tells you how shallow they are for themselves. It tells you that they might just be immersed in a life of lies themselves. You see, lies thrive in the abundance of scrutiny, while memory acts as a beacon of truth, illuminating inconsistencies and holding liars accountable. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or broader societal contexts, memory serves as a powerful tool for maintaining integrity and trust. In a world where truth is often contested, those with good memories remind us of the enduring importance of honesty and the perilous fragility of deception. When one is authentic and bad for his or her authenticity, no one can take them and play the ass with them. Isn't that interesting, folks? You see, a liar's worst enemy is someone with a darn good memory. According to the old nastiness, play with me. Play with me. Think I'm joking. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with fortune and fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Higher, going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together. Bang, 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 it's only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. And of course, that's the first segment that has just gone. We have a lot more where that came from. So welcome back. For those of you just joining, welcome. And hit the share button. Come on, let's get more people in the room so that we can share this very, very instructive bit of a topic here today. A liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory. Why do people really lie? People lie for a variety of reasons, often driven by a combination of maybe psychological, social, or even situational factors. Understanding why people lie requires exploring the motivations behind dishonesty, which can range from self-preservation to manipulation or even altruism. Pull up your chair, folks. Pull up your chair so that we can explore the primary reasons why people lie, along with an exploration of the deeper dynamics involved. You see, I know this liar whose hand was slammed shut in the cookie jar at his place of work over 50 years now. And when pardoned, left a paper trail with his signature agreeing to make good on the forgiveness he received. That individual is very lucky to be alive and able to walk the streets of Grenada freely without anyone whom he deeply hurt over the years, while on his lofty tower, not to mention all the nefarious characters he was in bed with, who he gypped and double-crossed. I agree with the statement. That idiot is lucky to be alive up to this day in truth and in fact. Just recently we're hearing of a $10,000 bounty that may have been paid by someone to bump off a political opponent in the earlier part of his political career. Wow! You see how this individual is really lucky to be alive today? That requires a little silence so that you could take it in. You see, one of the most common reasons people lie is to avoid punishment, to avoid serious criminal charges and prosecution, to avoid criticism or downright negative outcomes in their lives. You see, this type of lying often starts in childhood. When children lie to escape reprimands or consequences for their actions. When a child is given a meal to bring for his father, and he resorts to thieving the meat out of the father's plate, it tells you where that child can likely end up in life. As adults, this behavior may evolve into more complex forms, such as lying to cover up mistakes at work, or in relationships, or in life, or in general. An employee who misses a deadline might blame technical issues to avoid their manager's anger. This type of lying is often rooted in fear of failure, of judgment, or even loss of reputation. Lies can be a means to achieve material, social, or professional advantages. These lies are often calculated and manipulative, aimed at influencing others to gain resources, opportunities, or even recognition. A person exaggerates their qualifications on a resume to secure a job. They may even send an ugly alike brother to complete an assignment at another place while they work elsewhere, posing as one and the same person just because it may be difficult to tell them apart. Because remember, I said they're ugly alike. This type of lying is driven by ambition and greed, reflecting a belief that dishonesty will not yield the desired results in their timing alone. Doesn't that sound familiar, folks? But sometimes people lie to avoid hurting others' feelings or to maintain social harmony. These lies, often referred to as white lies, are generally seen as socially acceptable and even necessary in some cultures. We have to watch it because that is the beginning of even more sinister lies. It's the source. Telling a friend they look great in an outfit that you secretly think is unflattering. That's disgusting. Too many people do that here in Grenada. And when the honest person tells that person the truth, they think of them as mean. But of course, you know, I don't put water in my mouth. If I see you and you ain't looking good, you better take your hint from how I looking at you. Because my honesty starts with how I looking at you. From the time you see me frowning, you know what's coming. because I have to tell you, you're hot in my eye. If you vex, that's your business. But all the other people shoo-shooing behind your back. You see, these lies are motivated by empathy and a desire to preserve relationships or avoid unnecessary conflict. While such lies help your friend to continue to make an ass of themselves. You see, some lies are told to enhance one's self-image or to make oneself appear more competent, attractive, or even successful. These lies often reflect a deep-seated insecurity or a fear of being perceived as inadequate. You see, claiming to have traveled to a country or accomplished something impressive to gain admiration. That's one example. But you see, this type of lying is rooted in a need for validation and approval from others. When the status that one enjoyed is gone, the status-starved nature of the person fuels resentment of other more competent and qualified successors. And that is why you will find them projecting their nastinesses on that more qualified successor. You see, people often lie to sidestep uncomfortable situations or conversations. This includes avoiding difficult truths that might lead to awkwardness or even conflict. Saying I'm fine when feeling upset to avoid discussing emotions. Hello? Cutting others off short is another way of lying about one's true feelings. You see, these lies are motivated by a fear of vulnerability or a reluctance to deal with challenging interactions. Some individuals lie to manipulate others for their own benefit, as we have experienced here for so goddamn long with the old nastiness all too often. You see, these lies are often premeditated and intended to exploit, to deceive, or gain power over someone else. Spreading false information about and projecting on the competitor or worthy successor to gain an advantage in business or in anything. You see, this type of lying often stems from selfishness, a lack of empathy, or a desire to dominate and dominate always. You see, for some people, lying becomes a habitual behavior, even when it serves no clear purpose. Compulsive liars, for example, may fabricate stories or distort reality without any obvious motivation. Habitual lying is rarely just a standalone behavior. It often reflects deeper psychological issues or coping mechanisms that started from early childhood. Understanding the underlying dynamics is essential for addressing the root causes of dishonesty, whether through therapy, support, or intervention. You see, recognizing the connection between lying and mental health can foster empathy and guide effective solutions. But let's just see if we can answer this question. Grenada's former Prime Minister, a most prolific liar, has faced criticism over the years for allegedly making unfulfilled promises. That's a decent way of saying, setting among you up. He know he lying. He know he has no intention of doing those things. But those promises are so salacious. They're so attractive that you fall for them. That prolific liar has always been guilty of shifting and projecting narratives and habitually providing misleading information. You see, such perceptions often arise in politics, where leaders are scrutinized for their statements, actions, and the gap between their rhetoric and reality. Well, how much more time among you need to see that this man do good and that he ain't good long? You see, whether he deserves to be called a prolific liar depends on perspective, political allegiance, and the specific claims in question. You see, it also depends on which side of his lies you are. Here is an analysis of why political figures, including that old nastiness, might be accused of inherent dishonesty. You see, political leaders often promise ambitious reforms or projects during campaigns to appeal to voters. However, these promises can sometimes be unrealistic or unfeasible, leading to accusations of dishonesty. In Tropical Trump's case, critics have pointed to instances where his administration failed to deliver on economic growth, job creation, or infrastructure projects as promised. You see, this is so because he heads a political party that has no known philosophy for real people development. The philosophy is me first, me second, me third, and me last. The philosophy is always about the old nastiness. But what could be the possible motivation? Campaign promises are sometimes exaggerated to con people and secure votes. You see, like many politicians, Satan's grandson has had to navigate complex national and international challenges, such as economic crises or contentious policies, all the while competing with selfish intentions of personal gain and personal gains only. You see, to maintain support, such inferior leaders sometimes downplay negative outcomes or present overly optimistic narratives. Critics might interpret this as lying, while supporters may see it as the best strategic communication tactics. If that old nastiness overstated the benefits of certain economic programs, this might have been an attempt to maintain confidence in his leadership. You see, politicians often face scandals, controversies, or unpopular decisions. Tropical Trump's long tenure as prime minister, serving multiple terms since 1995, meant he encountered numerous challenges, including allegations of corruption, nepotism, and gross mismanagement. Leaders in such situations may resort to denial, deflection, or alternative narratives to protect their mangled image and well-set failed legacies. If he was accused of mishandling public funds or granting undue favors, as he often had been, this is what would have caused him to deflect blame to maintain political capital while tomfooling unsuspecting followers. You see, the old nastiness's leadership style has sometimes been described as aggressive, with accusations of consolidating power and sidelining dissent. Such an approach can lead to accusations of dishonesty if opponents feel their concerns are dismissed or misrepresented. You see, critics might argue that he downplayed or denied the influence of political favoritism to nincompoops in government decisions. You see, the perception of dishonesty can also stem from cultural and societal expectations. In small island nations like Grenada, where communities are tight-knit and the governance is highly visible, unfulfilled promises or discrepancies in leadership are often more personal to citizens. You see, this scrutiny may amplify accusations against Satan's grandson, whether or not they are justified, because you know what they say. When dogs sucking egg is a bad thing, as whenever eggs are missing, that dog will be blamed. You see, the consistency with which the old nastiness has been accused of dishonesty by critics. Such claims have been made all too common in Grenadian politics, whether he has been known to dominate for such an overextended period. That has to be a travesty, you know. People, citizens among you fall asleep. There was never any shame in the game for an inferior leader like Tropical Trump, who never made any real attempt to balance promises, governance, or even public perception. Closer examination of the many accusations against him hold merit, especially in the contexts in which they occurred over the years. Ultimately, the label of prolific liar, even though it is a subjective judgment that reflects not only that old nastiness actions, but also the polarized nature of political discourse in Grenada. Folks, a liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory. You see, people like me will never be liked by a liar himself. And the needy, the greedy, and the vultures who benefit from that liar. Let's take a little break now, man, folks. You see where this is going? Eh? There's a lot more. Let's take a little break and we'll come back with a lot more.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
In the sun, look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with fortune and fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 and more. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves, put people together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, wonderful, folks. And a little German here. Wunderbar, wunderbar. So let's come back. For those of you just joining, I want to welcome you. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure to have you here this Sunday, the final Sunday of November 2024. Very, very interesting indeed. Look at how fast this year has moseyed on. Ooh, we're at the end of the year already. Folks, our last segment brings us to why inferior people love titles. You see, people are often drawn to titles because they carry significant psychological, social, and even cultural value. You see, titles can represent status, recognition, authority, or even accomplishment. And they often fulfill deeper emotional and even societal needs. Very, very interesting. You see, empty heads who are absolutely nothing in the eyes of people of genuine humility and of substance tend to adore titles to make them somebody. Here's an analysis of why such people of low self-value seek titles. You see, folks, titles really and truly may symbolize to them hard work, education, or even expertise. They serve as public acknowledgement of a person's accomplishments and efforts. You see, academic titles like doctor, or professional titles like CEO reflect years of education or career progression. In today's world, fake titles are obtained for a couple of dollars by inconsequential individuals who would like to project themselves as more than they really are worth. Look at the ones who love to be called doctor, who cannot prove their trail to so acquiring. You see, shallow people of society who are not inclined to be discerning project the value that they place on these recognitions, thus validating perceived dedication and achievements of these deep fakes among us. Remember what I told you? They ostracize real people and demonize them, and they idolize fake people in our society. You see, titles often elevate a person's perceived status in society. They can open doors to opportunities, command respect, and create a sense of importance. Being addressed as sir, lady, or your honor carries societal prestige. And you could imagine some rogues being called sir, lady, and your honor. Human beings are naturally hierarchical, and titles signify a higher position in the societal structure. You see, put a title to a miscreant of society, and what do you have? We experienced the epitome of that from 1995 to 2022, all rolled into one undesirable element. You see, titles can grant authority, making it easier for individuals to lead, influence, or even command respect. In professional settings, titles define roles and responsibilities, which others are expected to acknowledge. Could you imagine all of this authority rolled into the personage of a disrespectful lowlife, carelessly allowed to roam the corridors of power over a nation for a long time? Wrongs must be normalized. A title like manager or president conveys authority and decision-making power within an organization or business entity. Titles provide legitimacy, reducing the need for individuals to assert their authority repeatedly. You see, for many, titles are tied to their identity. They're no longer human. They are your honor. They are your worship. They are your lordship. They are doc. They are, come on, nonsense. A title can enhance self-esteem and provide a sense of belonging or even purpose. You see, a military title like captain can define not just the rank, but also a person's sense of duty and contribution, because you don't become a captain just so. You see, titles help people feel valued, give them a clear role in society or their organization. So you have the deep fakes looking for these things because life running out on them, and they cannot really match their accomplishments to the length of time they've been alive. So they're going all about the place looking to see if they could get a doctorate, and they don't care how much they have to pay. Rubbish. Go get a life. You see, titles often indicate a person's qualifications, knowledge, or skill in a particular field. They build trust and credibility in professional and personal interactions. Could you imagine if a titled individual is founded on serious character flaws? Oh, Lord have mercy, problems. Medical titles like doctor or academic titles like professor signal expertise and competence. People prefer clear indicators of expertise when seeking advice or services. In competitive environments, titles can differentiate individuals from others, granting them a unique edge in professional and societal circles. A lawyer with a title partner in a firm has a competitive advantage over a junior associate. Titles act as a shorthand for qualifications and achievements, making them valuable in competitive scenarios, but they must be given to you properly. You see, in many cultures, titles are deeply rooted in tradition and convey honor. They can signify respect for elders, royalty, or individuals who have made significant contributions. In some societies, titles like chief, elder, or even rabbi reflect respect and leadership within a community. Titles in these contexts are not just personal markers, but also carry collective cultural meaning. Titles can provide a form of external validation, reinforcing an individual's sense of success and fulfillment in the eyes of others. You see, someone with a title, award-winning author, may feel validated by their recognition in a competitive field. Titles can satisfy the universal human need for acknowledgement or respect from others. You see, titles resonate deeply with human psychology and social dynamics. They fulfill the need for recognition, status, authority, self-worth, while playing a functional role in societal and professional structures. While not everyone values titles equally, their significance lies in the meaning individuals and societies attach to them. So when people who are title-driven end up without them, they tend to feel naked and can be driven to a rare form of despair, which can trigger manic behavior, or, as we are seeing displayed by the old nastiness regularly these days, because he is status starved. So why is it Tropical Trump of Grenada does not want to give up leadership of the National Nasty Party? You see, the old nastiness, Grenada's former prime minister and long-serving political figure, has faced calls to relinquish leadership of that National Nasty Party after his party's defeat in 2022 general elections. His reluctance to step down might stem from several potential factors. You know, legacy preservation could be one of them. You see, as one of the Caribbean's longest-serving leaders, through, of course, the carelessness of unsuspecting citizens who are not paying attention, he may wish to ensure his legacy is not prematurely overshadowed by internal party divisions or a poorly managed transition, which, of course, it has all been thus far. What about party stability? He could argue that his continued leadership is essential for maintaining unity within the National Nasty Party. You see, long-standing leaders sometimes see themselves as pivotal to their party's coherence, especially during challenging times. He may view himself as the best candidate to lead a comeback effort, believing his experience and political acumen are irreplaceable for rebuilding the party, without taking into consideration his close to 80 years makes him totally unattractive to a very youthful nation. What about limited successor grooming? If no clear or widely accepted successor has emerged thus far, he might feel that stepping down could lead to internal turmoil or a leadership vacuum. You see, the old nastiness might genuinely believe that he still has the capacity and the vision to guide Grenada and the National Nasty Party despite calls for change in his out-of-timing mentality. This reluctance to transition leadership is not uncommon among long-serving political figures in the Caribbean and beyond, where leaders often become deeply intertwined with their party's identities. However, it has also been led to tensions within the party, as younger members and other stakeholders push for renewal and modernization, which are totally resisted by him and his close museum cohorts. Hey, you realize what I tell you, folks? A liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory. People like me will never be liked by the liar himself, and don't talk about the needy, greedy, and vultures who benefit from that liar. Hey, we have one more segment. So let's come up for a little bit of air. And you could imagine the fire that's coming.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safely and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with much fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, higher, going higher. As we aspire, build up us, put people together. Bang, bang, bang. It's only up.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. And of course, this is going to be our final segment. Folks, I really and truly wish more people would become brave enough to take your country in hand. I've been doing this for 40 years and I never get weary yet. We have a lot of you don't want to offend people, but you don't mind them offending you. All you stupid we? Wake up and stay awake. Stay focused. Don't let no old thief project his thieving ways on decent people and causing you to have doubts about the decent people. Start with the character of the old thief that is projecting. Dismiss the old thief. Stop having doubts. Stay focused. Anyhow, as we enter some more times for popcorn and soda, I advise all to stock up as things are about to get very interesting. Many bets are taken as to why the main challenger is poised to not be the successor to the old nastiness in the National Nasty Party. You see, the main challenger, a prominent Grenadian politician, has often been seen as a potential successor to Satan's grandson as leader of the National Nasty Party, the NNP. However, several factors suggest why he might not ultimately assume that role. The main challenger, a former member of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, joined the National Nasty Party in 2013 or thereabouts. While his crossover brought significant political weight, it also sparked skepticism within some NNP circles about his loyalty and alignment with the party's traditional values. Of course, you and I know those two words don't go together in a sentence with NNP, traditional values. What values? He is not born a Jew and therefore is not considered a Jew. You see, unlike long-standing members who have built their careers entirely within the National Nasty Party, his political origins in the NDC make some party members view him as an outsider, which hinders his ability to garner broad support within the party. His style of leadership and political approach may differ from the old nastinesses, creating potential tensions with party stalwarts who are accustomed to inferior methods, inclusive of verbal abuse with regular obscenities. And very early in the morning too, before cock, wife crow. This could make them hesitant to back the main challenger as leader because they are accustomed to a certain level of abuse. You see, other NNP members vying for leadership, leading to a fragmented base of support for the main challenger. Figures such as a female with long-standing belongingness and another professional, similar in profession to the main challenger, who have been prominent in the NNP, might also be seen as more suitable heirs to Satan's grandson's legacy. You see, while the main challenger is long-standing in politics, some Grenadians might question his ability to lead the National Nasty Party due to his political journey and his association with certain policy decisions of the past. Leadership transitions often require a candidate who can unify the party and appeal to a broad electorate. You see, as the incumbent leader, the old nastiness does not have his own preference for a successor and is therefore hesitant to support the main challenger. His choice of successor ought to carry significant weight in determining the party's future leadership. But even that is in doubt because nobody was ever allowed to assert themselves around him while he was leader. None of them with total origin in the National Nasty Party seemed suitable. So they followed the old nastinesses playbook for too long, rendering them totally useless to this nation in a 21st century context. Look at the platform on which they stand. With only gutter sniping, you could see Grenadians going back to that. I don't think so. Grenadians could never go back to that. The last election, you realize they had no message, and they continue with their lack of messaging. Total rubbish, garbage, nonsense, lies, lies, lies. Oh no, it's pathetic. Grenadians could never go back to that. None of them attractive. You see, without strong and unified support from both the party and the public, the main challenger's path to leadership of the National Nasty Party remains uncertain. You see, the ongoing power dynamics within the NNP will play a critical role in shaping the eventual outcome. One way or other, the outcome of any convention will require healing, which could take a considerable time for the party, rendering them unattractive to the electorate, period. You see, with the date of a long overdue party convention recently released for December 15th, things start to get nasty with the campaign. The main challenger, in spite of several seeing his poor treatment at the hands of the old nastiness and his old guards, as karma for how he treated Tillman Thomas of the NDC before being expelled from that party, proceeds to ignite a fire in his supporters within the construct of the National Nasty Party. You see, things have started to get nasty, with old accusations of murder plots against known opponents of Satan's grandson years ago, with money allegedly passing to carry out the act. One forwarded many times WhatsApp note is inviting the police and the Director of Public Prosecution to take up the matter, as according to the note, there is no statute of limitation on murder or any crime associated with murder. Goodly folks, things have started to get nasty, and the main challenger's supporters and followers are not about to sit down and take his exclusion lightly. We all have to stock up on popcorn and soda for the reveal, while we seek the security of our homes during what is expected to be a convention with metaphoric and may even be literal fireworks. What can we expect from the alleged upcoming political convention of Grenada's National Nasty Party under the expired leadership of that old nastiness, in light of him not wanting the main challenger to be able to contest, which, if the competition is fair according to the constitution of the party, he can very well lose. You see, the alleged upcoming, and you notice I said alleged. Hello, because that could be another lie. Remember, this date was set by a prolific liar, you know. That's why people like us have to be careful. The alleged upcoming political convention of Grenada's oldest functioning political party, the National Nasty Party, the NNP, is likely to be a pivotal event, given the ongoing tension surrounding the reluctance of its out of timing and expired leader to step down as party leader. Here is some of what we probably can expect. There is a main challenger who was brought into the party with an alleged promise to hand leadership to him in a plan of succession, when that said element sabotaged and helped decimate the Tillman Thomas-led NDC administration between 2008 and 2013. It is quite obvious that the National Nasty Party deserves leadership renewal in order to sidestep the continued dominance of that old fart. There has been public displays of discontent or behind-the-scenes maneuvering to push for a leadership election, to the point where one of the 6 successful candidates on the NNP's side of the House, brave enough to voice a preference for new leadership, found it necessary to seek accommodation with the winning NDC team, bringing their 9 to 10. This decision has emboldened others who became ashamed that she made them look small to remain appearing to be loyal to a leader who lost all currency on account of him not knowing when to leave the stage. You see, the convention may expose a deeper divide within the National Nasty Party between those loyal to the old nastiness, the has-beens of Grenada's political, life, and those advocating for fresh leadership, potentially leading to serious fragmentation. You see, Tropical Trump will likely use the platform to argue his case for staying on as leader, especially as he's fabricating in his own mind that elections are likely to be called any time way ahead of the 5-year term, emphasizing his experience, political acumen, and ability to unify the party in the face of challenges. How delusional. Political acu who? Not for these times here, so and now. As expiration for that lolly drain type thinking and approach. Gone, gone, gone. He may portray himself as the best candidate to rebuild the national nasty party and prepare it for the next general election, citing the lack of a clear successor or the need for continuity as engineered by he himself. Could you imagine this group of has-beens from the political dustbin of the same national nasty party, NNP, want to compare Grenada with America and even go as far as to feel emboldened by Donald Trump's victory in the US? But we do not have racism here in our equation at all. Neither do we have misogyny. For many of our women rule to the annoyance of our several empty-headed macho males. Hello? I drop in it as it's hot, you know. You see, in order to limit the discussion on succession, the old nastiness feels if he dominates the agenda, discussions about his successor could be downplayed or even delayed. However, pressure from key stakeholders, especially younger members, has been forcing the issue into the spotlight. Every so often we can hear him hinting at a gradual transition plan, possibly to buy time and avoid alienating his base. Folks, regardless of the obvious tensions, which could spill over into riots probably, if he has his way to hijack the democratic process within the party, there are public calls for unity to prevent the perception of a fractured party. The NNP wants to frame the convention as a rallying point to refocus on defeating the ruling National Democratic Congress in the next election. But too many variables render them totally and absolutely unattractive at this time. You never see the, what do they call this thing they're going around the island? What do they call it? Whatever they call it. When you look up on the table, what on top of the table look like? A bundle of has-beens who really and truly never were is. Could you imagine that? Folks, to distract from leadership controversies and squabbles, the NNP seeks to use the convention to unveil or reiterate policies and strategies aimed at appealing, to the electorate, such as economic recovery, youth empowerment, or infrastructure development in their bid, to rescue Grenada, which has already been rescued from them and their failed policies steeped in me first, me second, me third, and me last. Selfish gains. You see, younger and newer members of the NNP need to push for greater representation and influence, leveraging the party's need to modernize and appeal to a broader demographic. How could the old nastiness use these demands to signal inclusivity while still maintaining control over key decisions? Analog decisions when we are living in digital times. Your guess is as good as anyone's. You see, if Tropical Trump's refusal to cede leadership is perceived as obstructive, it could lead to dissatisfaction among senior members or even defections from the party. A poorly managed convention could further damage the NNP's image, making it appear out of touch or overly dependent on one expired old fart of an individual. You see, the convention will be closely watched by the public. With any signs of discord or heavy-handed tactics by Grandpa, likely to attract criticism. This could harm the NNP's standing with voters who are looking for renewal and fresh leadership. They want to divorce themselves from this old, stale fart of a leader. You see, the NNP's convention is likely to be a further defining moment for the party. If Grandpa continues to resist stepping aside without a clear transition plan, it could deepen internal divisions further and alienate those seeking renewal. You see, conversely, a well-managed convention with a clear roadmap for the party's future, whether led by this old nastiness or a successor, could reinvigorate the NNP and bolster its position as a credible opposition force, which it is not at the moment. It's amazing, eh? That's our hope. You see, according to Hamlet Mark, quote, "What is happening now is like watching your grandfather deteriorate. You take no pleasure in it. You just try to hold on to the memories of the good old days," unquote. Folks, a liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory. And oh, how Grandpa must be afraid of KB, George Worm, Hamlet Mark, and all the people whom he attempted to severely harm after falling out with them, to include yours truly. Our memory is known to be sharp, and hence we all know how to help him capitulate to the fangs of his own karma, which he has been trying hell hard to choreograph over the years, without realizing that his legacy is sealed. A prominent place awaits him in the dustbin of our history. Folks, a liar's worst enemy is someone with a good memory. I still have the second edition of the biography of a thief to come, folks. It's so nice, eh? I'll have to serialize it. I am in, I am out, and I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, stay lifted, stay focused, folks. Don't let no old thief project their ways on decent people and cause you to have doubts about decent people. If those kinds of low-life characters have that level of influence over you, you need to check yourself. You can find me, folks, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Hey, just type in my name, no fake name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. Have a great, great one this week coming up. Take great care of yourselves, folks.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
If I take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe the list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Together stand for. We stand for.
Yeah.
Stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. Going higher. 50 years we're blessed with motion fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up.
Higher. Going higher. As we aspire, build up ourselves for people together. Bang, bang, bang. Slowly up.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island. Best believe the list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me